Welcome to this session on potential to mastery, the role of human capability development. We have a shortish session of 30 minutes, so I'm not going to introduce my esteemed panel of higher education leaders, but we're going to dive straight into a set of quick fire questions, and then after that, we'll get into some discussion. So, Your Excellency, what does potential to mastery mean to you?
Thank you, Jonathan. The first thing that pops to mind when you say potential to mastery is the journey of our students we witness every day at Princess Noura University. We, as an institution, we take potential very seriously by developing programs that will challenge the limits, by developing policies that will open doors, and of course, functioning under the era of Vision 2030. Mastery is not only a goal, but it's actually a standard we strive for every day.
Brilliant. So the student journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dr. Ahmed, same question.
Yes. Well, to unlock the talent and potential to mastery of the Saudi young men and women, which today they make, over 80% of the nationals. You definitely have to rely on strong education because they do have the potential and they are the pride of the kingdom and the architects to build a better tomorrow for Saudi Arabia. So it is very, very important to get a proper education. And that is what PSU, Prince Sultan University, is all about, definitely.
Thank you. So the youth again. Professor Andreas.
Anytime I think about potential to mastery, I'm thinking about the transformation of an individual, the transformation of their potential, their innate abilities, their aspirations, their interests into what will become a self-discovery, what will become an empowerment of their dreams to become the leaders of tomorrow, to have prosperous lives. And how that transformation happens relies on many things. It relies on education, on training, on discovery. It relies on practice. Practice is very important, and also expects the individual to have, if you wish, the curiosity, the inventiveness, the resiliency, and the patience, because that transformation is going to be a transformation throughout their entire life.
Brilliant, thank you. Dr. Omar, what does potential to mastery mean to you?
For me, and coming from IMD, where our focus really is on developing leaders, the parallel I view between potential and mastery is that really of knowledge and impact. And how do you take the knowledge that you may have as an individual, use it to make decisions, use it to solve problems, and use it to eventually have an impact? And for me, a master is someone who not only can lead, but lead through influence and not necessarily just through authority.
Thank you. And last but not least.
Yes, seen from the window of a business school, I think making the potential transform into a mastery, it's an engagement we need to have. It's really a societal commitment. I think when we see what's going on in the world right now, I think there is a need for higher education, especially in business, to make our paradigm evolve, so that we transform high-quality higher education in business into future-fit business education. This means that allows the students, but also executives, that train and transform themselves into our schools, future-fit, meaning overcome the obsolescence of competencies, being very determined and convinced, but also very humble in their learning process and never stop learning. So behind providing them cutting-edge knowledge, it's very important that they learn how to learn all throughout their life. So merging conviction with humility about training.
Thank you. So it strikes me there's sort of two themes coming out of that. There's a demographic theme, which is about the young people of today, and ensuring that those young people can fulfill their potential. Mm-hmm. And then there's a theme that actually, once you're in the workplace, you have the opportunity to actually master both skills but also ways of working that are going to have the maximum impact in the future. So if we sort of pick up on the sort of first element of that and think about how we organize universities and organize university curriculum, so how do we educate people? Your Excellency, at Princess Noor University, you have emphasized this shift from sort of towards experiential and interdisciplinary learning. Perhaps you can put some flesh on that and give us some examples of where that occurs.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now, this is, I think, a nightmare that keeps all university presidents awake at night, because how do you really provide learning experiences for the current generation with all the advancements in technology and everything that's changing around us? So we created the challenge at the university. Of course, 50% of the faculty at Princess Noor University are born 1985 or above. So very young, enthusiastic, fresh perspective, and ready to challenge the status quo. So we put a challenge for all colleges, different disciplines. We called it the X Factor at the time. We wanted them to come up with innovative solutions to integrate their academia with the job market. The response was really brilliant, but one college really stood out, and given the participation of business schools with us on the panel today, I will speak about the business school. So business education started with apprenticeship historically. It's not really innovative. Simulation is also used in business education, but the college invented a year-long experience for students, creating 8 companies. The CEOs of these 8 companies come from the private sectors. The VPs are academics. There is a real market data fed into these 8 companies. They chose for this year's theme hospitality, given the great importance and the relevance of tourism for Saudi Arabia at the moment. And it was spectacularly brilliant, because the marketing students, together with the HR, the economics, the finance, all the disciplines worked together throughout this experiential learning, and the outcomes were striking. And now it's 20% of their academic score is based on the performance of these companies. Just a funny story, one of the CEOs who we were trying to attract her from the private sector to come and lead one of the companies, she said, "I'm the worst, especially when it comes to financial data. And if you're going to evaluate finance, then I will be the worst." She did the best. Her company won the best. So this gives us the idea of how synergy and team building, she was really good at orchestrating this team to come up with the best financial outcome.
And it's the students who are working as part of the team.
Absolutely.
And they're working for CEOs who've got experience of being CEOs.
Exactly, with real life data, and everything is fed up and fed into the systems, and I welcome everyone from from other entities to come and visit and see for themselves the platform, the interaction, hear from the students and from the faculty, and of course we look for a theme for next year, and we would love to hear ideas from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ahmed, as president of Prince Sultan University, you talk about pre-skilling, upskilling, and reskilling. Again, can you sort of mystify that for us and tell us what you do in practice?
Okay. Well, Prince Sultan University has 2 successful models today that being tested and validated in the job market. First model is where now the students enrolled in the college. And these are now what we say when we say pre-scaling, meaning they are fresh students coming out of the public education, coming into PSU. Say there is a transition period before they get into the university level. So they go through the preparatory year program that focus on building characters, of raising their, of course, communication skills, soft skills. This is all the process within the PYP, the preparatory year program. Then they go into the upscaling, which is really the academic program. Depending on the area they can go into, they focus on. So they will, of course, get into the university level with the academic program that they are, of course, they selected. What is the most important, the transition of your academic to the hands-on training, which is the co-op program. That is what we say, the upscaling, that they apply what they learn in the classroom to narrow the gap between what they learn in the classroom and what expected of them in the real market. They go through that 7 month, and that's now why PSU, Prince Sultan University, over 90% of our trainees, while they're doing their co-op, they get job offers, and they get exposed to the market. And then when I say rescaling, this is a program that PSU offer as a community service, which deal with university graduates that have challenges of getting jobs. They come to PSU and they enroll in this program, Education for Employment, to focus on certifications. We have 8 different academies that focus on certification, like Cisco, Juniper, SAP, Red Hat, VMware, Huawei, and they go through these certifications, and from unemployed to employed that get a very substantial salary. And so we have applicants, we have more than 5,000 applicants, we only get 200, 250 per round, because it takes 1 whole year. It used to take more than a year, take a year and a half, and now we're trying to narrow it to one year. And so is now, us as a university, we pay in the community that contributed to PSU establishment. We are a nonprofit private institution. And then we do have the responsibility to pay the community back for what they are, of course.
And those students going through the reskilling program, they have already graduated but haven't been able to find work. Is that right?
No, they are university graduates,
Yep.
bachelor degrees,
Yep.
and they are unemployed.
Yeah.
So they come and join this program and go through the certification, whatever academy, one of these academies, that depend, because now we coordinate with local companies like SITE, and they said we need 100 Saudis that pass certain certification. So we agree with them, and they go through the program for 1 whole year, and their job is waiting for them. It's guaranteed. So we do that for SITE, we do that for Wipro, we do that for Salam company, we do that for so many local Saudi companies.
Brilliant, thank you. Dr. Omar, we've heard of sort of 2 innovations there from our colleagues. You're a professor of strategy at IMD Business School in Switzerland, and you've written and spoken about the importance of shifting from content to capabilities. What role, talking about innovation, do you think AI, good and bad, is going to play in that transformation?
Oh, for sure. Thank you very much, Jonathan. AI, I think, is, and as we would all, I think, in this room probably agree, is a change unlike anything we've seen in recent times with regards to particularly education. And I think, if we don't view it in a way that embraces it, we'll be doing a disservice not only to the institutions, but also to the students that we educate. About a year and a half ago, we stood back and said, what do we have to do to adapt our program to take this into consideration? Content is obviously always going to be a critical element of any MBA, any business education. But on top of that, how are we going to position our students to be best successful in the work world? And for us, that came across as focusing not only on the content, but also on what we call transversal skills. And these are skills which we think will be fundamental in an AI-enhanced world to be able to use the AI as a sparring partner. So you have to be able to operate at the same level when it comes to pattern recognition, systems thinking, critical analysis. How do you ask good questions? All right? So we identified 10 what we call transversal skills, which we introduced into the very beginning of the program in a 2-week module to really ground these as, if you think of it, almost a matrix structure of education. All of these skills are fundamental for any course. In accounting, you need to understand how systems work, how patterns are identified. In finance, in strategy, in marketing, and yet we never focus on them in any one specific course. So the goal was to really identify and educate students on these 10 critical skills, which include, I would say, critical thinking skills as well as critical presentation skills. For me, the last thing which an AI will replace is our ability to inspire, our ability to lead, our ability to have strategic presence, to present. And so we also focus on those skills, storyboarding, storytelling, strategic presence. And it's fundamental that we educate our students on these skills, because at the end of the day, when you're in that interview room, these are the skills which are going to be fundamental for getting that job, combined with the more technical skills. And to basically also be able to give our students individual feedback, what we've done is we've developed different AI rubrics, which will allow us to essentially reevaluate the assignments that students turn in, using the rubrics to give them feedback on each of the 10 different skills. So we need to educate them about AI, but we also have to leverage AI in our actual pedagogy.
Thank you very much. So what we've heard there is talk about curricula and talk about technology. But one of my sort of passions in life is that transformation is actually about culture, and it's about institutions. So Professor Andreas, you're in the really interesting role of founding a university, NEOM University, from the ground up. As the founding president, how are you thinking differently about structures and culture and the purpose of higher education?
Thank you, Jonathan. Indeed, it's a unique opportunity. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. And, you know, the inspiration we have is from NEOM's Made to Change call to action. And therefore, change is really what drives everything we do. We're approaching it in ways that benefit from all the experiments we're seeing around the world, and we heard a lot about it today. Yep. And also allowing ourselves the opportunity to assume risk in the way we do things, because we view ourselves as an institution that in the kingdom and the world will complement all the innovations and the great ideas that are being put forward as we think about the future. So there are 4 things that we are doing we are very excited about. The first one is we are totally eliminating disciplinary silos. So our approach is driven by the fact that at the end of the day, our students, all students, are going to have the opportunity to have multiple careers. So we want the disciplines that we emphasize to provide us with a foundation on which we will have the opportunity to think about programs, academic programs, research initiatives that are driven by the challenges of today and the needs of the industries of tomorrow. We start that by actually introducing the first 2-year common curriculum. This is a curriculum that all students, irrespective of their interest, come together to take, and emphasizes a fusion of the humanities and the social sciences with AI, computing technology, and entrepreneurial thinking. We want the students in small teams to come together and think about how there's so much value depending on one another and learning from one another together with their teachers and mentors in ways that they become very comfortable about all the choices they'll have to make in the future. So this common curriculum is very important to us, and how we put it together, looking at ways in which personalized learning and pathways to learning become part of the experience of the student, leveraging AI. By the way, I don't really like the term AI. I would rather call it augmented human intelligence, because that's really what it is all about, to help us, help the students, help the professors think about this personalized approach to learning. The third thing is we are thinking of that future-proof, if you wish, education, something that we cannot do alone. We need to do it in partnership with the private sector and the government, because the private sector needs to drive very fast, and many of the things that are going to become tomorrow are going to be provided by them. And we don't want to be involved in that training. We want them to be the ones doing the training. And at NEOM, we have the Talent Academy that is a partner of ours as we engage with the way we develop talent in collaboration with the sectors of NEOM. So what we focus then is on that collaboration to be done in a way that we assume the responsibility of providing the foundational knowledge, and then the applied knowledge that is coming down the pike is provided through internships and other opportunities of working together with the private sector and the government. And finally, global partnerships. We are very big on the belief that the world, especially when it comes to change in education, needs to work together. If you notice, today's theme was all about change, was all about collaboration, convergence, and continuity throughout the lifespan of an individual. So we want to make sure that as we develop our curricula, as we think about what we offer our students, they have opportunities to study abroad, whether that is happening in person and online. It's something that we would like to make happen. Benefit from talented people from all over the world, benefit from corporations and industries that perhaps will want to partner with the kingdom to learn and anticipate what is going to happen in the future, and this way develop this convergence of the world in a way that the future of education becomes everyone's responsibility.
Thank you very much. Professor Vincenzo, we've heard about curriculum, and we've heard about technology, and we've heard about culture. How do we ensure that we maintain access and inclusion and lifelong learning, given those sort of three paradigms?
Yeah, when I think of the impact of all this on the paradigm of business higher education, it goes to the curriculum, the capabilities, the development of competencies. It also goes to the development of pedagogical methods, and it also goes to the evolution of the organization institution itself. With respect to the content, also with an approach towards lifelong learning, I think we are convinced at the ESSEC Business School that leaders must actually speak the language of business, but it's not enough. They must speak also the language of technology. Nowadays it's AI, generative AI, but quantum theory is coming as well, other technologies are coming as well. But also there is a language of entrepreneurship and innovation, not exclusively for those who want to launch startups, but also for those who are being companies, being innovative, being capable not simply to innovate, but also to experiment. It's extremely important. There is the language of sustainability. There is the language of geopolitics. So there are many languages, but as soon as you start speaking 2 or 3 languages, one new language comes in a little bit easier than the others. And the role of a business school is to go one step, I believe, farther than cross-disciplinarity, which is transdisciplinarity. What does that mean? It means also breaking silos between the academia and the real world. There are still some. It means really engaging, not simply in selling excited education to customers, but in co-building customer education, which means involving non-academic stakeholders, companies, organizations, institutions, policymakers in the co-building of this customized, transformative, long life learning, which means that the business education should not simply focus on business, but if you take, for instance, AI, the technological part is important, but the whole value chain, including the robustness of methods, the quality of data, the ethical dimension, because at the end of the day, it's the human dimension that makes transformation in companies. So the idea is that the graduates must, of course, master, to go back to the first question, the specific competencies, but also we need to be able to provide them a holistic approach so as to make really the transformation that is needed. To do that, a need that we need to actually put in practice, nowadays there is the time of innovation is much faster than the time of higher education. We need to make those 2 timings more, I would say, in accordance with each other, because you see, as soon as there is innovation, the next one is coming soon, and higher education needs to respond much faster. Otherwise, to conclude on this, I wouldn't want that we make the same mistake we made with smartphones. Smartphones came, we were provided by a technological user guide, but we didn't need, it's very intuitive, but no one provided us with a huge social user's guide related to smartphone. So the technology actually has imposed us a way of living, and I think in higher education we should, by breaking silos across disciplines, actually put in place collaborations across disciplines, also with non-academic stakeholders, to actually make those models evolve and reinvent the management.
So I think that point about innovation and the pace of innovation is critically important. And I always amuse when you look at sort of old pictures of universities or places of learning, whether that's the House of Wisdom, whether it's Aristotle and Athens, whether it's Cambridge in the sort of 12th, 13th, 14th century, it is a bunch of people around a room with a professor talking to them. And we're still doing that today. Yeah, it may be changing, but we're still teaching fundamentally in the same way.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to start with you and work back down the line. But if you had a moment of magic and you could change one thing in higher education that will allow us to transform from potential to mastery, what would it be? Professor Vincenzo.
I think it should be transdisciplinary with a 5-star seamless experience. Because when we talk about technology, it has also an impact on pedagogical methods. Of course, AI should also have an impact, but let's not forget the students, graduates, also executives are there also to live an experience, which goes also beyond the academic content. So transdisciplinary, a 5-star seamless experience.
I think that's 2, but I'll let you off. Dr. Omar?
I would say, again, building on what my colleagues just mentioned, the importance of systems thinking. I think this is a matrixed element that we need across education in order to effectively break down these silos.
Thank you. Professor Andreas?
I agree. I believe the way you do that is start with a common core that brings people together and understand the benefit of all of these that we heard.
So a single purpose.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, my opinion, I think now universities are put a lot of emphasis on ranking and some on program accreditations. I think ranking, it is very good, but I think they should include 2 main points that really reflect the reality and the mission of the university. And that is, when I look at ranking criteria, they don't have a program accreditations. They should include a program accreditation which reflects the quality of your education. And the other thing I think should include employability. If you're a graduate, what percentage of your, you graduate, how many you graduate every year? How many percentage of them they got jobs? So these 2 factors, I think, the most important thing that should be included in the ranking process. The whole process is available, everything, but these things I would, if I have to say so, I would include these 2 important factors into the process.
Brilliant.
Changing the mindset of academia, evolving from a heavily regulated system to a system that challenges status quo, being really disruptive. Rather than just looking at frameworks, we need to be really open-minded in our new learning experiences for our students.
Brilliant. And in my view, ultimately, universities are there to serve communities.
Exactly.
So we need to be disruptive to change the way that we educate to serve those communities.
And break the silos.
And break the silos. Brilliant. Well, thank you all very much. I think we've heard today that human capability building is more than curriculum. It's a combination of culture, of commitment, and of collective responsibility. So I'd like to finish by thanking our panelists, thanking HCI, and thanking you, the audience, for listening to us. So thank you very much.